Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Tier 1 Transfer Podcast. Joining me as always is my co-host, Ronaldo Brown. How are we doing, mate?
Doing all right, mate. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm not too bad, not too bad.
Always looking deep into it.
I don't know why you're always laughing at me when you ask me that, but I'm good. Also joining us is a guest. He's been on the show before, big supporter of the channel, Henry Winter from The Times. Henry, how are we doing?
I'm very good. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, we're doing all right at the moment. Well. Ask us after the Sheffield United game tonight. We'll see how we're getting on. Just looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, obviously United are doing really well this season. Now, when we've spoken to you in the past, in other interviews you've given, you've always been pretty supportive of Ole, even when things weren't going too well for him. How do you sort of sum up the job he's doing at the moment and where United are?
Shortly after he got the job on a more permanent basis, Chris Smalling was hosting one of his charity events in Manchester, and I went along just to sort of show support. I'm a big admirer of the work that Chris does and the club does. And a few of the players were there, and Solskjaer was there, and I was thinking, that's really impressive. Solskjaer's a really busy man. You know, being manager of Manchester United is not simply about getting 11 players on the pitch. It's about almost keeping a whole club happy. And I saw the way that he sort of, in a very unobtrusive Solskjaer way, sort of worked the room, just talking to people, helping to sort of raise awareness, helping to raise funds. It was for Football Beyond Borders, very good charity that Chris is involved in. And I just had a sort of brief chat with him there. I've always liked him. I mean, I'm old enough to have remembered his first day at the Cliff when I think you had about, was it 96, when you had about sort of 5 or 6 players sort of suddenly arrived, and Solskjaer was probably the least known of them all. And I was talking to one of Sir Alex's staff, and he said the manager thinks this very quiet, unassuming, I think he was 20, 21-year-old Norwegian will be the best of the lot, because, you know, I think you lot were calling him the sort of baby-faced assassin quite soon, but there's a tough man in there. So little things like that, when you meet people along the way and you see them close up and you watch them, and I'm quite nosy. I quite like just analysing someone, almost just watching how they deal with people. And I think that was such an important element, to have someone really human with very personable, genuine character coming in. Whatever you think of Mourinho, it's a slightly gear change. Solskjaer's a sort of warmer individual. And I just thought that's what Manchester United needed at the time. I could see what he wanted to do. I mean, I know Michael Carrick a bit, and Michael would never, ever talk about sort of, you know, Manchester United or give anything away. But the fact that he had Carrick in there, and obviously Darren Fletcher's come back in and Phelan's in there, you almost kind of, you know, we're putting the band back together in a way. It was trying to go back to what Manchester United should be about, what you were about under going back to Busby and Ferguson. I'm not comparing the current team with those teams, but just, I don't know, it's maybe a slightly strange thing, but sort of restoring the soul to Manchester United, restoring the sort of the emphasis on youth, more attacking, more energy. And I think that's gradually come through with Solskjaer. And I'm really pleased, because he's, you know, I mean, good guys don't always finish first, but Solskjaer's shown that he can do it, certainly in his playing career, and I hope he does it as a manager.
Oh, so do we, obviously. During the summer, we were linked with the likes of Jadon Sancho, Dale Upamecano, one or two others. Now, we didn't get those players. We did get some signings, obviously, Edinson Cavani, Alex Telles, and Donny van der Beek being the main ones. Do you feel Ole was adequately backed this summer by the board and by the owners? Do you think he was given the transfers that he needed?
I think you missed out on Sancho. I think Sancho would have gone. I think if Manchester United and the Glazers had pushed it a little bit more, I think he probably would have moved. I mean, he's a fabulous player. I know he's had a little dip. Young players do have dips. But in a way, the attacking area, and maybe just looking at hindsight, it's not really so much of your issue. I mean, Cavani coming in arguably was more the type of player that you needed in terms of that. Look, I've seen him rip England's defence apart in enough countries around the world to know the quality of Cavani. I've seen him play enough times in the Champions League to know this is one of the most intelligent individuals. As anything, I think Solskjaer was talking yesterday about just his work rate. You know, just the tiny little things that top players like Ronaldo and Messi do. Little things like making sure his pre-match meal is prepared exactly right, exactly at the right time. Everything is perfect. The marginal gains leaves nothing to chance. The fact that he's still playing at almost 34, still running 12k and almost 12k in a game, still hunting down centre half, still making those intelligent runs to the to the near post. You've got a supreme master at work there. I bet if you count it up, his touches. He's ruthless. He's so efficient in his use. So Cavani, look, Bruno Fernandes rightly gets all the acclaim, but I'm just a huge Cavani admirer. And in terms of what Manchester United needed, obviously needed Fernandes for that personality, getting on the ball, front foot, pushing forward, particularly through the middle. Fernandes has been absolutely inspirational, but Cavani, just to lead the line and for what he does off the pitch as well, the inspiration, I think Ollie was talking about it in terms of what Mason Greenwood could learn from such a sort of dedicated professional as Cavani, who's 14 years older than him and still playing with the hunger of a young apprentice coming through. So absolutely, Cavani was an inspired move. I was at Fulham the other night, and where the press, games without fans are rubbish. We all know that. And I think I've done about 110, 115 games behind closed doors now. And it's rubbish without fans. But the only advantage we get from the press is that actually we can go and sit down ringside because they want us all socially distanced. So particularly I was down for, I think it was the first half when Cavani scored that very good goal against Fulham. And I was really down very close, and you could just see the runs that he was making. You could see that Fred was coming over to that side. I think Martial was out that side as well. Luke Shaw was being fantastic over the last couple of months. He was pushing forward as well. And you just knew that the ball was going to come in and that Cavani was going to cause chaos. And there were about 4 players, including the Fulham goalkeeper, Areola, who were around Cavani. And yet he was still there to seize that moment, Gerd Muller style, to sort of finish that. You'll be able to compare him with Manchester United players of all, but there was a touch of Van Nistelrooy with the way that he was there just to sort of get those ugly goals. So, I think Cavani, look, Sancho was a disappointment, but I think Cavani coming in, obviously Bruno Fernandes before him, have been absolutely inspirational. Telles looks decent as well, and if it's made Luke Shaw respond and look one of the best left backs in the country, then that's good as well. You seem to have competition all over. Plus as well, getting a player like Eric Bailly back from injury with that mobility. Again, I think Lindelof's probably responded to him as well. Lindelof's had a couple of decent games recently.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. And I like that. I like that, the fact that you've compared him to Van Nistelrooy, because Cavani, he does remind me a little bit.
Very instinctive.
Yeah, that instinctive striker.
He's brought a lot of experience to the forward line.
Ronaldo, have you ever had those incidents when you've been looking after your garden path?
Yeah, but do you know what, mate? Probably not enough. But
fear not. When you're trimming,
you know why? It's because I've never had something that's been adequate for the job.
You've never had something that's been adequate for the job. Well, fear not, because Manscaped have got you covered. They've just launched in the UK, and they've got their new 3.0 lawnmower technology. So they've launched it in the UK, and what they have done is launched a product that can take care of down below without any of those issues that you may have had in the past when you've been trimming. Manscaped have got you covered. As I said there, they've got this brand new technology, and also they've got a bit of a discount going on, so you can get 20% off when you check out the code that's in the description. If you go into that code, you can get 20% off Manscaped. And what they do is they've got this new trimming technology, so you can make yourself look nice and, Sheen, I like that, yeah. Nice and sheen down there. So you've not got any dramas, you've not got any issues, looking all smacks. I know you're a man that likes to take care of yourself, like we all do. We live in that age, don't we, where people like not just to keep my head looking nice and sheen, as you say, but other parts of my body as well. And Manscaped have got you covered. So make sure you're checking out the code that's in the description there. Manscaped, you get 20% off. We've got this new technology, and it's got the free shipping as well. So you check out the code, check out the description, and the link in the description even. Have a little look at that. And then Manscaped have got you covered for all your needs when it comes to that, because we got to look after ourselves down there, don't we, Ronaldo?
Keep it clean, keep it sheen.
Keep it clean, keep it sheen, as Ronaldo said. I'm not sure if that's the official Manscaped logo or tagline, but maybe it should be, because I like it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not just about keeping our head on top of our heads, either bald or nicely styled. It's also keeping their down below, nicely styled as well, and that's what Manscaped are all about. So check out the link in the description and get 20% off because you've got to look after your balls.
If we're looking at January, as in the January transfer window at the moment, it looks very unlikely that United will actually do any business. Do you think United can maintain a title charge with the way the squad is currently assembled?
Well, I think they will do business, but it will be going out. Jesse Lingard is not quite top of the range. I've seen him have some decent games for England, obviously cup final. I mean, he's actually delivered in some quite big games, but I can't see how he gets in that Manchester United team. And I think for him, at his stage of his career, whether he moves on at some point, I mean, West Ham would seem a logical place for him to go, particularly with them doing so well. I think it'd be a slight waste if he went to West Brom. I was at West Brom last night, and I wouldn't recommend many people going there in terms of career development. So I think it'd be players going out, and I think that's important as well. You know, we've got to take into account that clubs are taking a huge financial hit. So actually to go out and invest heavily is difficult. They'll be wanting to trim players off. I also think Manchester United, because you've had a succession of managers, you've almost acquired players from different regimes. And I think Solskjaer, who I hope, and I'm sure they'll sort out a new contract and they'll be there long term, I think he needs to actually just define that squad even more as his and maybe remove some of the players. So I think some players will go out. Do you need anyone in? I think when we last spoke, I think I was probably a bit critical of Fred. I think Fred's been fantastic this season. I like McTominay. I like that variety that Solskjaer's got in the middle. I thought Fred and McTominay was going to be his first choice holding pivots in maybe the tougher games. But the way Pogba's been playing, Matic is so experienced. You know, you've got. I thought that you might need a Declan Rice in there, but I don't. I mean, he's a fantastic player, but I don't think you actually need anyone there at the moment. I don't know who your backup right back is. I mean, Wan-Bissaka is sort of developing. He's still got things he needs to work on in his game, but he's very young. I think squad-wise, you're in a very, very good place.
I think so too. I'm a little bit more confident than you, though, Jay.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I like the fact that, you mentioned the right in midfield, and we do have that, which is good to see because we've lacked that in previous seasons. We've barely had enough players to make up a midfield in certain times, whereas now you feel like he can chop and change it quite a lot, and he does. Yeah,
exactly. I think if January is a quiet transfer window, and as you said, do you believe it could be a way in terms of United have a quiet January transfer window, and it's a way of almost gearing themselves up for a potentially big summer? Can you expect any kind of big transfers in the summer for United?
I'm sure they'll be linked with Sancho again. I think that is inevitable. I think the important thing is you tie down certain players. Obviously, with the manager, you want his future tied down. But I keep changing my mind on Pogba. I've just seen him like World Cup finals and the speech he gave to the French before the game in Moscow. There is a fabulous player in there. I mean, what you really want in every transfer window is Pogba to be absolutely playing well and dominating, and Firmino Raiola to have lost his mobile phone, because he's such a good player. And okay, he could possibly go to Real Madrid. They could afford him. I'm not sure they can at the moment. He could possibly go to PSG. I just think now is not the time to be leaving Manchester United. Now is the time that the club are going to kick on as a team, as a squad, as a club, under Solskjaer, such a unifying factor to everyone throughout the club. And can you imagine if Manchester United make a push? You will make a push for the title this season. You're already doing that. I mean, 9 teams have already done it. It's a merry-go-round at the top, and Manchester United have got the squad to contest that. I think it's probably between you and City, possibly Liverpool at the moment. But next season, when fans are back, when Old Trafford is rocking again, why would Pogba want to go? So Pogba could become a legend, is a strong word to use at Manchester United, because you've had some great legends down the years. But Pogba could become a great at Manchester United. He could do great things at Manchester United. He could, drive on, in the prime of his career, winning titles, pushing for the Champions League again. He's at a place where it's under Solskjaer. It's a very warm place, Carrington. There's a good atmosphere there. Would he necessarily get that at Real Madrid with all their politics? Would he necessarily get that at PSG? Okay, they're going to win the French league, but it's a bit more of a sort of star and political climate there. So look, I'm not advising Pogba. He's a very intelligent individual. He can decide for himself, but I hope he makes the decision and not Raiola.
Yeah, I think everyone will agree with that because, I don't think there's any United fan on the planet that likes Mino Raiola or the way he's gone about his handling of Paul Pogba. He seems to sort of, when everything calms down, we hear these statements, we hear Raiola coming out with comments and things, and we just want Paul Pogba to stay. And like you say, I agree with you. I think he can become a United great, and we've seen it this season. The sort of levels he's playing at, that's the Paul Pogba we want to see. Like many of us, Henry, you've been very critical of the United owners, both on this channel, and I've seen you giving other interviews as well, where you've commented on the way they've gone about things, and you've been sort of critical of them. Some people are giving them a little bit of credit because of the fact that they've stuck with Ole. There's this idea that maybe there was a time when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was under pressure and they didn't sack him, especially when you look at what's happened at Chelsea with Lampard. Is that something you buy into? Do you think the owners do deserve any credit, or Woodward or whoever? Or do you think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's earned the right to stay in a job and was never really likely to be sacked?
Well, I think it's probably Woodward who deserves more of the credit. Well, ultimately, it's Solskjaer deserves the credit because he's shown that he's a good manager. He can make tactical decisions. He can set his team up right. He can clearly motivate the players. On the Glazers, I don't think I'm going to change my tune on the Glazers. I think from the word go, I can remember when they turned up and they were invited to the Football Association, and the Football Association, in that slightly Captain Mannering way of theirs, said, you will be nice to this crown jewel of English football in Manchester United, and the Glazers nodded and then went and did their financial juggling act. They're not fans of, ironically, it could be an amazing year for them because I think their American football team, the Tampa Bay Bucks, are heading, or they've reached the Super Bowl. I'm not so tuned up on that. That would be quite an impressive double for them of Super Bowl and Premier League. But no, look, they don't love the club. They don't. I mean, Abramovich, and I've given Abramovich some stick this week because of his treatment of Lampard, but Abramovich actually does like football. He does love Chelsea. He does turn up to under-19 games. He does go and watch the women's team. He does stream matches when he's not in the country for whatever reasons. The Glazers, it's simply a money-making thing. And I mean, it's just a question of whether you view football as a business or as a sport. And I think the truth is clearly some way in the middle. For me, Manchester United is it's not about the megastore there. It's about the 11 men on the pitch. It's about the man in the dugout. It's about the fans. It's about the human beings there. It's not about, the cash tills ringing. I know they're all tied up together, and the more Ed Woodward is brilliant, or certainly in the past when he was on the financial side, bringing all the deals in, that pays for, to get Cavani to pay his wages. But I think football is more than that. It's more than about money. And I think if anything has been highlighted in the last 10 months of the pandemic, it's the importance of people. It's the fact that Manchester United have missed the fans. It's the fact that Solskjaer has been so important as a human being as well as a manager in the club, with his upbeat personality, going into the training ground, lifting spirits. When he walks down the tunnel before matches at Old Trafford, talking to the stewards, how are you? How's the family? Stay safe. I think it's all about the human elements that we have to remember. I think we've seen it with the amazing foundation that you've got, that the fact that the kitchens at Old Trafford stayed open throughout the pandemic, even though obviously there was no one going into the ground, and they were supplying tens of thousands of meals to local kids. And I was talking to people at the foundation, and I said, listen, I'm from out of town. I can read all the statistics. I can go through the MEN and look at how bad situations are in schools in certain areas. How bad is it? And one of the staff members at the foundation said, well, we're trying to help out one family at the moment who are in a situation where the mother eats one day and the father eats the next, so their two kids can eat every day because they are that short of food. And Manchester United, we can talk about them as being this huge, great commercial monolith, but also you've still got the roots of the community. You are still going out and saving lives and feeding people, as well as Marcus Rashford's incredible work, which embodies the ethos of the club, helping other people, sticking together in times of adversity. You've done it on the pitch, you've done it historically, and you're doing it now. And for me, that's what Manchester United are about. the community element and not simply about the money. And the Glazers are all about the money. And I think they would have kept with Solskjaer as long as the team was sort of ticking over and the money was still coming in. So I don't give the Glazers too much credit. I would give Woodward a little bit more credit, but I don't think you're going to be finding me writing love letters to people who live in the Everglades anytime soon.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. That's why we like you, Henry.
Couldn't agree more with it.
Yeah.
But on the Chelsea front, the suggestion that with Lampard gone, it could actually pave the way for a move for Declan Rice, even though you did mention earlier it's not a player that you particularly see as a major need for United. But do you still believe it could pave a way for a deal for Declan Rice?
No, I know Declan quite well. He's a real character. I mean, you would want Declan Rice around for his playing ability, but also he's just an exuberant character. In the dressing, I was interviewing Jack Wilshere just before he left West Ham, and Jack was in the back of his car doing it on a Zoom on his mobile phone. And he started sort of giggling, and Declan Rice came through the window. He didn't even open the door. He just came through the window and tried to sort of gate crash the interview. He's just a sort of exuberant character who loves life, loves what he's doing. I think, in fairness, he's doing such a good job at West Ham as well at the moment. I'm sure he'll be their long-term captain when Mark Noble stands down. It's not necessarily the right time to leave West Ham, but I think either Chelsea or Manchester United came calling. Look, as much as I love Declan Rice and admire him as a player and as a bloke, whether he will actually, I mean, you'd know better, will he actually get into your midfield? He probably would get into your starting midfield. But Fred's playing well. I'm a huge fan of McTominay, who's maturing. What I like about McTominay, he's not only a decent player and one of the fittest individuals. I mean, you saw with his runs in lockdown, I mean, he looked like an athlete training for the Olympics. But he's got a bit of bite to him. He's got a bit of edge to him. I think all the best Manchester United midfield have got a bit of snarl to them, whether it's a Keane, whether it's an Ince. Going back further, look at a player like Paddy Crerand. You got winners in there. You got individuals that if you were an opponent, you wouldn't want to cross. Who can sort of outstare you, let alone outrun you and outfight you. So, yeah, I think that I'm a huge McTominay fan. And look, with Pogba playing like this as well, I know Pogba can play in slightly different situations, but I'm trying to remember, I've seen about 3 or 4 of your most recent games in succession. And one game, I actually thought Pogba wasn't necessarily his creative best, but actually defensively, I thought he was much better. Was it the last Liverpool game? I thought he was good. So look, I don't think that's necessarily a huge area that you need to invest in. But look, you see them. Well, you live Manchester United, and if a player like Declan Rice was available or you could go for, then you would want. But I don't think central midfield is necessarily your biggest concern at the moment.
Just finally, just on something you mentioned there about Pogba, and we've mentioned about Raiola and Pogba and how well he's playing and that sort of situation. Do you think there is still a decent chance that, you were mentioning there about he could become a United great? Do you think Ole could convince him to stay? Do you think there's still an open, that idea is still open to him?
Players often follow the money, but he will be well paid at Manchester United. I'm sure his next deal, which will be the most important deal of his career financially, for him, his children, his grandchildren, his family. Manchester United can afford that. The Premier League is the best league in the world. You look at Spain, you look at their financial problems. I don't know what the world's going to be like in a post-pandemic world. Maybe he wants to go back to France to be closer to family and friends. I don't know. I just think now is not the time to leave Manchester United. Now is not the time to leave when you've got a very unpolitical manager who's got great man management skills in Solskjaer, who has actually handled the whole Pogba situation well. He's also got a couple of he's got 3 former midfielders, club midfielders, who are good characters as well, Fletcher, Phelan and Carrick. I know you probably think I'm biased towards Carrick, but I just think he's all of those 3 mentioned have got really strong principles as footballers and as people. And I think they'll talk to. I just don't see the logic of leaving Manchester United at the moment, of leaving a dressing room, of leaving a coaching staff like that. for maybe 50 grand a week more. And are those clubs actually going to offer them the money? Look, I'm sure what will happen, we have the normal tango in these circumstances. Pogba will get linked to Juventus, PSG and Real Madrid. And then he may well announce a new contract, lucrative new contract. It's the normal dance that the media gets involved in, agents get involved in. But I think with him playing like this, with him so focused on his football, with him as such a character and very impressive, strong role model for Rashford and Greenwood, as if Rashford needs any role model, he's the ultimate role model himself. But the younger players coming through the academy, to see someone like Pogba, who obviously has been on that pathway, I think that's and become a world champion. I think that's truly inspirational. So look, I hope Pogba carries on like this and stays, because now's not the time to leave United.
Couldn't agree more. Henry, it's been great chatting to you. Appreciate you coming on the channel and all the support you've given us as well over the years. And hopefully we'll be able to meet up at the football soon. Hopefully whenever that may be, fans are back in the stadium. Yeah, we'll be able to get in there and meet up.
The sooner the better. To be honest, I can't see it until next season. But can you imagine when you come back and you can support the players again? You can support, all the old rituals, going to the pubs, walking, all the sort of, the little things like we're not allowed to do at the moment, like sort of giving someone a hug, all that sort of, the crazy scenes and that you need. That, I'm lucky I'm still going to games, but I just saw Mason Greenwood the other night scoring a really good goal, back in form, back playing well, and then celebrating in front of an empty Stretford end and just sort of waving to absent friends. And it's absent friends, it's you, and it's also sort of players from the past who've passed away. You have fans going back into the grounds who will have lost people in COVID, and there'll maybe an empty seat next to them, or someone else will have come and filled it, another relative. And that is so important. That's why when I come back to the Glazers are not about that. The Glazers are about money. But for me, Manchester United and football is about people.
Couldn't agree more. Henry, well said.
Perfectly said.
Thanks again. Good stuff, that, wasn't it?
Brilliant as always, Henry.
I know, I like the fact that he speaks like he gets it, like a fan. Like
he gets it almost like he's United. I don't think he is.
I don't think he is, but he's got size and
he's got
Michael Carrick and
he's got admiration.
Yeah, and the stuff he says about fans not being there and the Glazers and stuff like that. Yeah, 100%. And he makes a good point about Paul Pogba. Maybe. Come on, Paul LaBeal.
He sucked us in with his...
Come on, just stay.
With his world-class performances again, innit? But hope it's Steve.
Listen, if he delivers 21, then I wish him well. He can move on.
He can go then, but...
And if he doesn't, he should stay and make sure he gets us next season. Big thanks to Henry Minute for coming on the channel. Make sure you check out him at the Times, and also check out all the other videos we've got coming up. We'll have you covered for the Sheffield United game and all the other games coming up as well. That's been Ronaldo Brown. I've been Jay Motti. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. This has been the Tier 1 Transfer Podcast. Thanks for watching.